Mike, you've got some interesting stuff and some correlations to talk about concerning Obama and the Pope and some things getting ready to happen. Go for it.
Well, as the only official correspondent to Freedom Friday who actually qualifies to be Pope,
that's true.
No lie. I actually
you do
qualify.
Yeah.
I take that quite seriously. I always have my phone on just in case the Pope retires or dies or whatever.
Yeah. Tell the people why you qualify. Tell them why you qualify.
Well, because I'm a man and I've been baptized a Roman Catholic, and those are the only two qualifications to be Pope, by the way.
Yeah.
So, if you're a Catholic, baptism is their interpretation of the born again experience. Jesus to Nicodemus there. That's their interpretation. If you're baptized with water as a Roman Catholic, you're going to heaven. Even if you have to go through purgatory to get there, you're going.
Right.
And if they're right, by the way, I'm going and you're not. I hate to always remind you of that.
That's true.
But,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, I'm baptized, just not in the Roman Catholic Church.
I think the new Pope may have actually declared a decree that you get to go now, since he's covered just about everybody, including the atheists. By the way, they get to go too.
Yeah, I was a little offended. He included the atheists, but not the Baptist. And I said, "Man, what's up with this?"
Well, the Pope's credibility took a huge shot this week, Carl, and let's launch right into this.
Yeah.
Let's lead with an article from Breitbart. This writer from Breitbart, he did an amazing job. He's an excellent writer, this guy. I don't have his name in front of me here, but he writes that in 2015, looks like the year that the Pope is going to blow it all by casting his lot with the morally bankrupt, scientifically illiterate, world poverty-inducing cause of environmentalism. There's a mouthful for you. When he issues a papal encyclical on the subject of global warming, apparently with a view to influencing the next round of UN climate talks in Paris in September. Of course, the Pope's views on climate change will only be as good as the expert advice he gets. And unfortunately, on this score, the auguries do not bode well. Auguries is another fancy word for omens. Do not bode well. As we learned by studying the list of delegates at a workshop staged by the Vatican in May of 2014, with the grisly theme of sustainable humanity, sustainable nature, our responsibility. That was a meeting held in 2014. The event was I love this line. The event was a veritable who's who of climate stupid.
Yeah, climate stupid. And, but climate change and global warming, man-made global warming and climate change, it is one of the two biggest hoaxes of the last decade that has been perpetrated upon the earth. Not just America, but upon the earth. One of the two. That's one of them. And the other one is radical homosexualism, which I'm going to get to a little bit later on. But one of the two biggest hoaxes perpetrated upon the globe.
That's right. We're going to talk more about that in a second here. That's absolutely correct, by the way. The list of people who attended the 2014 meeting, every one of them had this one thing in common, Carl. They were all rabid leftists. Breitbart offers a list of them and gives their credentials. But listen to this, though. Among the people who weren't invited to this festival of climate alarmism was one of the Pope's own cardinals, George Pell, former Archbishop of Sydney. Perhaps that's because, unlike so many of his co-religionists, such as the lamentable CAFOD, the Catholic Development Agency, he has yet to embrace the fashionable cause of Gaia worship. They're calling it Gaia worship, Carl. From the Vatican.
Yeah,
there.
That's interesting. Explain to our audience what Gaia worship is.
Gaia is earth worship. Gaia is the earth god, right?
Exactly. But I mean, a lot of folks didn't know that. So.
Yeah, Gaia is the earth god. Mother Earth, earth worship, Gaia worship. It's all synonymous, right?
Right.
And on the contrary, Cardinal Pell believes that a doubling. Listen to this. This is amazing. Pell believes, and we have science stuff to back this up in a second, but Cardinal Pell believes that a doubling of CO2 is what you breathe out after you breathe in.
Right.
You breathe out, CO2, right?
Right.
That is good for the planet.
Of course it is.
Because plants would love it.
Yep.
Plants love that stuff, he once said. He said, radical environmentalists are more than up to the task of moralizing their own agenda and imposing it on other people through fear. They don't need church leaders to help them with this, although it is a very effective way of further muting Christian witness. There's the agenda, folks. Church leaders in particular should be I love this line, too. Church leaders in particular should be allergic to nonsense. Are you allergic to nonsense, Carl, since you're a church leader?
Yeah. I'm pretty allergic to it. I can usually smell it, a mile down the road, usually.
He goes on to say, I am certainly skeptical. This is Cardinal Pell, by the way. I am certainly skeptical about extravagant claims of impending man-made climate catastrophes. Uncertainties on climate change abound. My task as a Christian leader is to engage with reality, to contribute to debate on important issues, to open people's minds, and to point out when the emperor, he's speaking of the Pope here now, by the way, to point out when the emperor is wearing few or no clothes.
Thank you.
How wonderful it would be if this erudite, informed, scientifically literate scholar were able to have a quiet word in the Pope's ear before it's too late. Pope Francis will apparently meet with other faith leaders to lobby government officials, et cetera, et cetera. And goes on to talk about Neil Thorns, an advocacy head of the KFOD, expressed support for the Pope's moves. But listen, there's a lot of science to refute the Pope's position on this, by the way. Supporting the science refuting the global alarmist agenda, Climate Depot is reporting global sea ice breaks record high for the day recently, and Antarctic sea ice also breaks record high for the day. Stephen Goddard is reporting on the death of the final global warming scam. Using charts and graphs, Goddard shows how the area of Arctic sea ice is nearly identical to 30 years ago. Thank you very much. Interestingly, the Daily Mail is also reporting this week that carbon dioxide emissions now this is all backing up Cardinal Pell's position and refuting the Vatican's position on global warming and climate change, that carbon dioxide emissions help tropical rainforests grow faster. Study shows trees absorb more greenhouse gas than expected. Tropical forests are growing faster than scientists thought, Carl, due to rising levels of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere.
I know.
NASA has confirmed this.
There's nothing that mankind can do to change the climate of this entire planet. Who do we think we are? I mean, this is unbelievable. But you know what? See, Mike, here's the deal. The same people that brought us this trash science of global warming also brought us the trash science that homosexuality is genetic. Now we have 8 major scientific studies from international study groups that have been going on for 24 years, looking at groups of tens of thousands of identical twins and with 100% same DNA genetic kind of material, and they have discovered zero link to genetics and homosexuality. This is over a 24-year study of 8 different think tanks of highly credentialed people, been going on for a quarter of a century. Now we know that the whole homosexual agenda of, I can't help it, I was born that way, it's a lie. But they know that. This trash science of homosexuality, the trash science of man-made global warming, they're the same people that bring us the trash science of evolution. The same people, Mike.
Same people. That's exactly right. We're going to bring Obama into the mix here after the break, Carl, but just to close here, in total, they estimate that forests and other vegetation absorb around 2.7 billion tons of carbon dioxide. And as emissions add more carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, guess what happens? Forests worldwide are using it to grow faster.
Sure, of course.
And young, fast-growing trees tend to absorb more carbon dioxide as they use the carbon as they grow. Now, guess what that points to? That points to, undoubtedly, the listeners have already picked up on the secondary benefit to this scientific discovery, the altruism of tree farming. You know, imagine the Avatar-type Gaia worshippers literally chaining themselves to old trees, perhaps not even realizing, Carl, that they're hurting Mother Earth by preventing the harvest of that wood, thereby allowing young trees to sprout up and absorb carbon dioxide at a much greater rate.
I've got a scripture for that, Mike. Professing to be wise, we've become fools. What's the greater agenda here with the Pope and Obama? There's something bigger going on.
I mean, the Pope definitely has an ally in all this global wealth redistribution, doesn't he? I mean, let's face it, global wealth redistribution, that's what we have left, Carl, when we strip the cause of its BS. BS stands, of course, for bad science. The Washington Times is reporting in the last couple couple of days. This is a fresh article from them. President Obama increasingly is finding a key policy ally in the Vatican, with Pope Francis standing. This is important language here, by the way. With Pope Francis is standing virtually shoulder to shoulder with the White House on income equality and a historic diplomatic reboot with communist Cuba. The pontiff next year will also appear poised to offer greater support to the president on climate change initiatives, which essentially is global wealth redistribution, and reportedly wants to be a leading voice at the UN, Carl, at their global warming summit next year, where the American president will make perhaps his greatest pitch to date for more dramatic action on the environment. Mr. Obama and fellow Democrats aligning with Francis offers clear benefits in the short term, as they're able to highlight agreement on controversial issues with one of the most respected figures on the planet. The Bible speaks of many antichrists, as you know, Carl, which shall come into the world, just as it speaks of many false prophets,
Right.
But the Bible also says that a singular antichrist figure will come,
eventually.
Just as it says that a singular false prophet will arise.
Mm-hmm.
It says that in 1 John 2:18. It says, "Little children, it is the last time, as ye have heard, that antichrist singular shall come." And then he says that there will come many antichrists, but a singular antichrist will come. Notice the mention of a singular antichrist figure which shall come, a prophetic indication of a future person, along with the mention of many antichrists which existed at the time. There appears to be many multiple manifestations of Antichrist, isn't there? There's the spirit of Antichrist.
Man, I'm telling you.
There's an Antichrist. That's from 2 John 1:7. Along with a single Antichrist figure which shall come. And this is where we get the phrase, the Antichrist, right? When we look at leaders throughout history as a possible candidate for this end-time, last-days person who will usher in desolation, abominations, and blasphemies. Has Barack Obama done any of this, by the way, Carl? ppsimmons has documented a voluminous mountain of evidence that he is definitely the most qualified candidate of our time. In fact, some of your guests have said that he is the Antichrist. There's no disputing it. He's it. But even though there have been many so-called false prophets to count throughout history, we know that from 1 John 4:1, the Bible makes it also clear that a single false prophet will arise. And he makes his appearance during the Wrath of God event in Revelation 16. So the seeming implications here is that the false prophet is in collaboration with two other entities from Revelation 16:13. And this all happens after the Revelation 11 rapture, by the way, of the church, following the catching up of saints. A one-world government takes shape. And, we see to talk about the Pope and Obama meeting at the UN, and we see the Bible talks about a one-world government taking shape, the lion, bear, and leopard, empowered by China and all this stuff. And, Revelation 13 talks about that. But people need to realize the timing of all this. Revelation 13, it talks about the mark of the beast and this one-world government with the mouth of a lion, will speak English, and the whole world speaks English now. I mean, if you want to get a job in China, you have to speak English. And if you go to school in China, you have to learn English. The whole world is speaking English with the mouth of a lion. And this one-world government will speak with the mouth of a lion, and it will have the feet of a bear. Russia has an enormous military force over there. Russia is aligning itself with China. China is empowering the bear right now, folks. That's happening in the news every day. But what becomes of this false prophet? Revelation 20:10 says the false prophet is tossed into this lake of fire where the beast and the dragon are. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, when we read the end of the book, guess who wins? The side that wins is the side of God. And I would like to ask, what side are you on?
That's it.
You can email us for more, ppsimmons@live.com. For more, ppsimmons everywhere there's an internet connection. God bless you guys. It looks like my time is up.